I like to think I'm a rebel. I'm revolutionary. I like to think to bring change.
Tupac
Shakur.
The Tupac case is simple.
There's not going to be anybody charged with his murder because the shooter's dead.
This morning, new developments in one of the biggest cold cases in modern pop culture history.
Are you kidding me?
It's a murder that shocked the world of music. 25-year-old Tupac Shakur shot 4 times inside this BMW in this intersection near the Las Vegas Strip in September 1996. He would die from his injuries 6 days later.
For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
The death of Tupac Shakur was and remains one of the largest scandals in the United States. Decades after the famous rapper tragically died in a shooting in Las Vegas, no one truly knows who pulled the trigger or who ordered the shooting. In fact, the mystery surrounding Tupac's death is so intense that there are even conspiracy theories about whether or not he's actually dead. You've got people saying he faked his own death because he was tired of the fame or because he wanted to live a new life in Cuba. Whatever it is, investigations into Tupac's death have been quite extensive. And last year, authorities made yet another arrest in connection to the case, a signal that they are still very much involved in the search to find who killed Tupac. In this video, we'll take a long look at the facts of the case, as well as the circumstances surrounding the arrest of this man, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, as well as the evidence that authorities have that connects him to the death of the famous rap artist. Now, before we go into the arrest in question, it might be worth looking into the facts of this situation for those who might not know. It's common knowledge that Tupac Shakur was one of the most popular hip-hop artists who ever lived. Despite living for a short 25 years, he managed to build a catalog of songs and records that can easily stand up to any of the greats, of which he's definitely a part. The awards, accolades, and money came easily, and Tupac was also famed for his impact on his local environment. That said, Tupac was also not immune to the many challenges that usually surrounded artists in his genre, whether it was his regular run-ins with the law, his affiliation with gang activity, or the fact that he was regularly embroiled in some sort of altercation with other artists. Controversy followed Tupac everywhere he went. By the time the 90s came around, Tupac was at his peak, and at the same time, so was the controversy that surrounded him. Everything eventually came to a head on the night of September 7th, 1996. Tupac was in Vegas to celebrate the birthday of his friend and business partner, Tracy Danielle Robinson, and attended the Mike Tyson versus Brutus Seldon fight with his label boss, Marlon Suge Knight, at the MGM Grand. Following the big fight, Tupac and his crew were at the lobby of the Grand when one of his associates spotted Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a member of the Southside Compton Crips, and told Tupac that Anderson had tried to rob them earlier that year. Surveillance footage showed that Tupac and his crew assaulted Anderson, causing an altercation at the location. Afterwards, Tupac stopped at his hotel room and headed with Knight to a nightclub owned by their record label, Death Row Records. At around 11 p.m. on Las Vegas Boulevard, Tupac and Knight were stopped in traffic by bicycle-mounted police for playing loud music in their car. A car which, mind you, had no license plates. The car was eventually released after the men managed to produce its plates. But just 15 minutes later, while Knight and Tupac were at a stoplight, a white 4-door, late-model Cadillac sedan pulled up to their vehicle, and an occupant in the car opened fire on them. Tupac was struck 4 times, once in his arm, once in his thigh, and twice in the chest. One of the bullets even entered his right lung. Knight was only struck with shrapnel in the head, but was unscathed. Tupac was immediately rushed to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, where he was heavily sedated and put on life support. It was the following afternoon when Tupac Shakur was confirmed dead. Cause of death? Respiratory failure and cardiopulmonary arrest? as well as severe internal bleeding caused by the gunshot wounds. The aftermath of Tupac's death was also pretty bloody. Many believed that Christopher Notorious B.I.G. Wallace was involved. Wallace and Shakur were arguably the two biggest rap artists at the time, and they were involved in a multi-year public altercation that captivated the entire rap industry. And on several occasions, this continued conflict got physical. If it didn't involve the two artists in person, it usually involved members of their entourage. Nevertheless, Wallace denied his involvement in the death of Shakur on multiple occasions, but the rumors continued to swirl, and unfortunately, Wallace himself was killed in a drive-by shooting that occurred just 6 months after Tupac's death. The circumstances were eerily similar. Wallace was riding in a black suburban SUV, and his driver stopped at a red light, and a car, this time a black Chevrolet Impala, pulled up beside them. The occupant opened fire, with the bullets hitting the rapper and killing him almost instantly. With Wallace now dead, it seemed like the prime suspect in Tupac's death had been taken care of. But that hasn't quite been the case. For one, while he was alive, Wallace actually gave a confirmed alibi that seemed to show that he wasn't the one who killed his supposed nemesis. At the same time, investigators were discovering that there could have been many other people who had a hand in Tupac's death. One man who has consistently been linked to the murder of Tupac has been Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. Davis was born in Compton, California in June 1963, and he actually has some deep roots to some of the biggest names in hip-hop in his heyday. According to reports, he played football with Tupac's boss, Suge Knight, when he was a child. At the same time, he was also said to have been a childhood friend of Eric Eazy-E Wright, the frontman of NWA, which was one of the hottest rap groups around the time Tupac himself got his hot start in the music industry. Even more interesting, Davis has claimed on multiple occasions that he was in the vehicle with the person who killed Tupac on that fateful night. In an interview with popular entertainment media outlet Vlad TV from back in 2019, he said this.
So let's talk about what happens next. You know, based on what the book says, Zip gave you guys a Glock, and you guys tossed it in the back seat. And Bubble Up was the driver, and Baby Lane and Freaky were in the back seat.
We was just all in the car together. Just say that.
This was the white Cadillac?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are driving around, and then you hear these girls say, Tupac, Tupac.
No, we coming up, what's the name? What's that, Flamingo? Yeah, I think that's Flamingo. We was coming up Flamingo and got to the light. We was gonna go drink and smoke some weed, and he happened to be hanging out the window. He was hanging out the window like he was in a parade.
Tupac?
Yeah, he was.
So what happens next?
And we just came, and shit. I ain't gonna go into the details like that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, you got it in a book, you done played it, everything else, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, in the book, you said that as you're driving up towards the BMW, with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat, and you said that Tupac pulled out a gun.
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually see a gun?
No, shit. Once he got to reaching, I got to ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
started shooting at Tupac and Suge.
If that seemed a bit unclear to you, Keefe D himself has been arrested multiple times. In one interview with the police, he gave even more context into what happened on that night.
Lane starts blasting. You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you.
Yeah, he looked at me.
Okay. When he looks over at you, and then Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
In
of
the
the
back seat or something.
Yeah. What do you see happening inside of their
Jumping
car?
in. I seen a bullet going Suge's head. I thought he was dead.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, popped.
Who was it?
They would drove on my side, I would have popped them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the other side.
Right.
Davis did make it seem like the incident was a back-and-forth shootout, and not like the men who pulled up beside Tupac just shot him up and left the location. Whatever it was, it appears that no one has better knowledge about what happened that night besides Davis, Suge Knight, and Baby Lane Anderson. The problem, though, is that things are a bit difficult to get answers at the moment. Knight is currently serving a 28-year prison sentence after he pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter back in 2015. As for Anderson, he was killed in a gang-related shooting just 1 year after the death of Tupac. So it seems that Davis was really the only loose end here. And in September of 2023, he was finally brought in.
Hey, Keefe, Metro Police, come over here. Hey, Metro Police, come over here, all right? Thanks, buddy. Come on over here. Appreciate your cooperation, okay? I'm gonna stand right here in front of the car. Yep. Nope, we're going to put it down. I know, hang on. Put that down for a second, all right?
You got nothing on you, right?
Hooks. You have anything on you, sir? No. Okay, yeah, we'll get you a drink. Hang on, all right? Just want to make sure you got no weapons on you or anything, okay? I'll separate the two, sir. Thank you. Put your palms together like you're clapping. I just want to make sure these cuffs can be all right on you.
Yep. Do you mind? Yep. Okay. I'll follow you. Oh, yep. I'm good. My front is clear. Come right here. Huh? Yeah, you're there. Do you have anything on you, sir? No. That was okay. Phone and water.
Phone and water.
Perfect. We're gonna put you in the car.
I need to drink some water, man. I'm thirsty.
You just going for a walk or what?
Yeah.
Okay. You do like a morning walk every day, or?
Yeah,
okay.
We'll get you some water, my man.
Can I get it now?
Yeah, as soon as we get you in the car,
We'll get you in, once we're in the car, all right? I appreciate it, sir.
Davis was arrested and taken into custody by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police in connection with Tupac's murder. At the same time, a house owned by his wife in Henderson, Nevada, had also been raided by police a few months before, with documents claiming that authorities were searching for items concerning the murder of Tupac Shakur in the raid. Davis was eventually held without bail and charged with murder, although he pleaded not guilty in November 2023.
27 years. 27 years. For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, a.k.a. Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Prior to September 7th of 1996, as we all know, Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips. On the night of September 7th of 1996, Tupac Shakur, along with Suge Knight and members of their entourage, which include members of Mob Piru, came to Vegas to attend the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand Arena. Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Dwayne Davis, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM. At that time, they began to kick and punch him near that elevator bank. I will now show you hotel security footage, as many of you have already seen, related to this incident. And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satiny shirt, all the with Marion Suge Knight, who is a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson. Following this incident, you'll see hotel security intervene, and then they will leave the area of the fight. Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur.
Since the arrest, several people have come forward to give their testimony about what happened that night. For instance, Chris Carroll, the officer on duty who tended to Tupac after he was shot, described the moments leading to the rapper's ultimate demise.
So I was asking him, what happened? Who shot you? Who did this? And he, for the first time, he's kind of acknowledging my presence, and he's looking in my eyes, and I'm looking at his, and I could tell he's trying to get a breath together because he's having a very hard time breathing. And he looks at me and he opened his mouth and he said, "F you." And after he said it, he kind of gurgled and coughed. His eyes rolled back. He lost consciousness. So that would be the last thing that he ever said in his life.
At the same time, an expert also revealed that Davis could easily have been the man who pulled the trigger. For one, Davis was indeed a member of the Southside Compton Crips, the group with which Tupac had some serious hostility towards. At the same time, his influence around the rap industry, as well as his side business as a drug dealer, meant that he had a lot of skin in the game.
He was relevant because he was dealing a lot of dope. And because he had a lot of dope, he had a lot of money. And because he had a lot of money, he had influence. So it was just those things. But he is a bit of a blowhard. He's not like his nephew Orlando, who was the actual gunman who killed Tupac. That was a serious, committed gangster who was a killer. Keefe D is a little bit more of a figurehead, so to speak. And he's definitely a legend in his own mind, but all things considered, he's not who he presents himself to be in the sense of this big, dangerous, infamous gangster.
A few days after pleading not guilty, Judge Carly Kearney for the Clark County District Court scheduled Davis's trial to begin on June 3rd, 2024. However, in early January, Davis was granted a $750,000 bail and allowed to stay home on house arrest. At the moment, investigations are still underway on Davis and his possible involvement in the killing of Tupac Shakur. And while the evidence remains inconclusive, there will be a lot to comb through down the line as authorities continue to try and get to the bottom of who really pulled the trigger that snuffed the life out of one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rappers to ever walk the earth. As we unravel the mysteries of true crime, your support drives us forward. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay with us as we delve into the darkest corners of true crime. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay curious, and keep chasing cases.